All right, so I want you to imagine with me. Imagine that you're a young woman in India, someone like her. You live with your parents and attend college, spending all of your free time studying with friends and dreaming of the day that you'll receive a cell phone of your own as a graduation present. You use your father's phone, but only to message classmates on WhatsApp. Now imagine that your best friend is frantically calling you on your dad's phone. She says that she just saw a photo of you on Facebook, a photo of you in a sexy bathing suit. This comes to great shock to you because you never, ever have posed for any sort of risque photo like that. And you don't even have a Facebook. You realize that someone has created a fake account in your name and has been posting morphed photos of your face and someone else's nude body. You feel vulnerable, scared that people might think these photos are actually yours and judge you for them. You worry for your tarnished reputation, both online and in real life. You don't know what to do, and you don't know who can help you. This recently happened to Vinupriya, a 21-year-old woman in Southeast India. 6 days after morphed risque photos were posted on Facebook, she hung herself. In her goodbye letter, she wrote, "What's the use of living when my father and mother do not trust me?" While it's universally upsetting to have someone steal your online identity and morph your photos in this fashion, the culture in which you live greatly impacts that experience. In a culture like India's, having your photo stolen means that your online and offline reputation are significantly damaged. Victim blaming happens across many cultures, and this is no exception. The victim of impersonation is often blamed for just being on the internet, for posting a photo that could be morphed like this, that could be manipulated, for overexposing herself. As a result, she is distrusted and shamed by neighbors, family, and friends. It calls into question her very caliber as a person and her marriageability. Vinupriya's story shows us the power of social norms. Social norms can influence what we experience as unwanted, what we consider unacceptable harassment, what makes us feel mentally and physically unsafe, and what consequences we might face because of them online and in real life. As a product designer at Facebook, I grapple a lot with the intersection of cultural norms and online harassment. Every day, I think about how to protect women who are predominantly the targets of online harassment and help them feel safe, supported, and secure on Facebook. Design is often reduced to pixels and surface-level improvements, but when the products that we build allow such awful and terrible things to happen, it's clear that design, in fact, goes much deeper. Our discipline is about solving problems, human problems, that are incredibly challenging and ever-changing and require a great deal of empathy, humility, curiosity, and tenacity. Today I'll be talking about my experience designing for these types of problems at Facebook. I'll be focusing on the problem of photo misuse, and will share a product that my team recently worked on, an alert for victims of impersonation. I'll also share 3 lessons that I learned along the way. I hope that they're helpful to you as you tackle similarly nuanced and sensitive issues in your own work. In order to better understand how our platform can address privacy and safety issues, Facebook hosted roundtable sessions to listen to users, activists, and NGOs. What we heard over and over again in follow-up research sessions was the same widespread fear of photo misuse and abuse, especially of profile pictures. My team decided to solve for this moment where someone hears about or sees an account pretending to be them. We wanted to help women at this intensely vulnerable moment where we could provide support, transparency, and guidance. So we designed and built an alert that informs people who are being impersonated as soon as Facebook detects it, Michelle Mederos in this case, and allows them to report the fake account directly instead of having to go through the typical flow on Facebook, which is challenging to find and really difficult to complete, especially in low connectivity areas like India. We then took this alert to India for usability testing. Going to India to do user research is one of my favorite activities. I don't know if you've ever gone to India, but it overwhelms my senses every time I go. The vibrant colors and patterns, the hot, muggy weather in the summertime, the endless honking of tuk-tuks on the street. This is a really quiet version, I promise. Equally overwhelming, though, are the stories that I hear from women about their experiences with harassment, both online and offline. During our trip, we spent many hours talking to people about impersonation and watching them experience the alert for the first time. Again and again, what we heard was this visceral and intense fear of photo misuse and abuse. Even the suggestion that she was being impersonated was enough to bring a young woman to tears. After each round of usability, my team would go to the hotel and update the design and content in the alert. The next day, when they brought it back to the next usability session, people would still struggle with the alert, unsure of the warning that it contained. I realized that we were presenting people with this binary decision that had consequences that they couldn't weigh the risks of. Is this an account impersonating you? Is this not an account impersonating you? What does this all mean? They were scared to make a decision and were reminded, honestly, of how scary a place the internet can be for a woman. After spending so much time designing and building this alert, it was honestly very humbling to see how much fear it struck in people's hearts. This brings me to my first lesson. Never stop listening. We start projects knowing next to nothing. We spend endless hours creating personas and developing frameworks, analyzing data, all in the name of understanding our users' needs and motivations to better design products that will be useful in their lives. But we often forget to practice humility throughout the entire design process, to remember that our knowledge will always be incomplete in some way, to question our assumptions that are based on this incomplete set of information, to provide enough reality checks for ourselves, to listen to a diversity of perspectives. Planning user research into fast-moving projects is always really hard, but it's especially hard when the people you design with are halfway across the globe. In practice, people often front-load their research, building a corpus of knowledge at the very beginning, hoping that that's going to carry them out to the very end. Or they'll do research at the end of the project to validate what they've already made. This is a misstep, and honestly, it's one that I made too. Even with all my appreciation for user research, even with all the user inputs that we had, the roundtable sessions, the research, the usability, the firsthand experiences of Indian women on our team, I missed one of the most valuable insights until several months into the process. Learning from this mistake, I hope you can take away this piece of advice. Research should be an ongoing conversation with your users. It's critically important to never stop listening and to constantly check your assumptions whenever possible at every step. So I had come into this project thinking that the solution was to help people realize that they were being impersonated and then provide support and transparency in that moment. In seeing how confused and alarmed people were, it was obvious that I was trying to design for myself. This is what I wanted, and this isn't what people needed. We were designing for the wrong moment in the larger experience of impersonation. It wasn't that we simply needed to help women know that they were being impersonated and how to report it to Facebook. The problem could be resolved much earlier, when someone screenshotted or downloaded someone else's photos, the moment when these fake accounts were being created, the moment when these fake accounts were distributing pornographic content. Young women were scared of sharing a photo that could be used to create a fake account or distribute pornographic content. Like Vinupriya, they were terrified of the real-life consequences of such an event, widespread alienation, and judgment from family, friends, and acquaintances. An alert alone wasn't going to resolve this, which brings me to my second point. Think beyond the moment of struggle to redefine the problem. After all of our usability sessions in India, I was struck by this feeling of failure. I had wanted to help women feel safe and supported, but the product that I designed introduced a moment of anxiety and struggle in itself. I had unintentionally allowed the burden of responsibility to fall squarely on the shoulders of a woman being impersonated. In reflecting on how this happened, I realized that I was placing too much weight on a single moment in the larger user journey. As a team, we focused on resolving that specific moment of struggle, rather than holistically thinking through all the intertwined issues within photo safety. In doing so, we were giving people tools to cope with their problem, but we weren't tackling the root cause of impersonation head-on. Said another way, sometimes we don't need to give someone another tool. We need to remove the need for the tool itself. So, based on our research findings, we zoomed out, and looking at other pain points in a journey helped alleviate some of these issues. Months later, I found this quote by Ethan Zuckerman of MIT's Media Lab that really resonated with my experience on this project. In his recent article in The Atlantic, which is awesome and you should all read, he wrote, "Many problems require you to take a step back and consider whether you're solving the right problem. If your solution only mitigates the symptoms of a deeper problem, you may be calcifying that problem and making it harder to change." This reinforces the importance of solving the right problem and rigorously understanding the full picture so you understand as many of the interconnected problems and their potential solutions as possible. Which brings me to my third point. Don't fall into the trap of solutionism. With all I've said about problem solving and design, it would be easy to think that I'm encouraging you all to double down on user research to find the perfect solution. And we all know that's not that simple. There is no perfect solution to solve a complex, complicated, entrenched problem like women's online safety. While it's alluring to work towards a single point, the most effective approaches often involve many solutions to many smaller problems that together help create a better overall experience. So, what we're doing at Facebook, here are a few examples of what we're doing at Facebook. We're investing more resources into proactive detection so that we can find fake accounts quickly and take them down as early as possible before they have a chance of friending your family and friends, before they have a chance of distributing pornographic content or whatever bad information they want to disseminate. We're also investing more resources into community operations, the team that process these reports, so that we can quickly review them. We're also continuing to iterate on the alert itself for the moments where we don't have enough information to act and we do need user input. However, the updated alert takes a stance of inquiry, similar to how a doctor might diagnose a medical health condition. Rather than assuming a single diagnosis, we'll walk you through a questionnaire to figure out whether or not you've been impersonated. We've also run several successful marketing campaigns to remove some of the social stigma with being a woman on the internet and establish better norms on Facebook against harassment. We're also interested in providing early social support from a product level, helping people build long-lasting supportive relationships, and therefore provide a sort of on-the-ground safety net. The goal there is to empower people to provide support, better customized support than we ever really could do at our scale. Given how pervasive and extensive harassment is, both online and offline, it's easy, at least for myself, to feel disillusioned at times. There's no easy solution. There's no switch to turn off patriarchy. There's no magical way to rid the internet of all its trolls and bad actors. There will always be new strategies, new actors, new victims. There will always be variations in how social norms influence what we experience as unwanted, what we consider unacceptable harassment, what makes us feel unsafe, and what consequences we might face. There will always be potential blind spots in ourselves. But hopefully, by respecting the complexity of these issues and taking a more nuanced approach, we can start to chip away and make meaningful impact on the problems that matter. So, to reiterate, never stop listening. You are designing with people, not for people. Make sure that you're constantly listening to people experiencing the problem firsthand throughout the entire design process so you have as few blind spots as possible. Design beyond the moment of struggle. Zoom out to redefine the problem. Oftentimes, there's a different point of intervention that will ultimately be more impactful. It sometimes takes solving the wrong part of the problem to tease out the not enough to realize this. Don't fall into the trap of a single solution. There's no one way to solve a complicated problem like photo misuse or impersonation or unwanted contact. You'll need to tackle the problem from many different angles, with many different collaborators, listening to many different voices, probably failing many different times. As you approach your next challenge, try to ask yourself these questions, even if you're not a designer. Are you working on the right problem? What assumptions, cultural norms, and personal experiences might be accidentally baked into your decision-making process? Who are you asking questions of? Are you seeking a diversity of perspectives, or are you listening to experiences that validate your own assumptions? What might your blind spots be? Your blind spots will always have dire and unintended consequences, even with the best of intentions. Having the humility and courage to expose these blind spots to ourselves will help us address the problems that we so urgently need to tackle together. Thank you.